So as Chicago grows its platform for solidarity economics, where do you see, if at all, room for worker cooperatives as part of that platform?
Yeah. So, I live in a community that has the second highest level of cash revenue in the city of Chicago, right? So La Villita, 26th Street, has hundreds of millions of dollars of cash revenue that we bring in to the city. Second only to Michigan Avenue, right? And for many of you that actually, when you go to La Villita and you go to McKinley Park and you go to Bryant Park, you see people selling tamales. You see people sewing each other's clothes. You see party planners. You see, I'm getting my daughter's quinceañera, don't tell her, but my daughter's quinceañera stuff is all coming from 26th Street, right? So it's part of the economics that are part of who we are, right? What I want to be able to do as alderman is I want to be able to use, there's a proposal on the table to be able to do a public bank. I want to be able to bring a lot of these entrepreneurs and be able to provide them microloans, be able to provide them some training, but to be able to create a cooperative economy between people that are already producing and need more of the technical expertise, the capital, and actually more entryway into other markets like McKinley Park, the North Side, and other places. For me, we have so much to build on, and we just need a public office. We need to be able to increase the capacity for people to do that, and we need to be able to provide spaces and opportunities for people that are already doing this and to be able to make this happen at a bigger level. The last thing I just want to be able to say is, when people throughout the city think about the 12th Ward, they think about what we bring in terms of food, in terms of culture, in terms of opportunities. We need to be able to use that and be able to expand the base of workers around cooperative economics for everyone here in the city.
When I think of cooperatives, especially the new era window company on 35th Street, I think of oftentimes these are situations where the worker sees control and the cooperative is born of struggle. There are many instances in Chicago where workers are exploited and abused, where owners decide to close up without paying severance payments, leaving workers in the lurch. I agree, in an ideal world, that we'll have a public bank where the city of Chicago can invest some of the money it invests around the country and around the world right here in the 12th Ward. Access to capital is the hardest thing for any cooperative when they're trying to get off the ground. We need to ensure that there's access to capital for groups of workers and their unions when they want to start cooperatives. And if we can't have the public bank, we need to, at the very least, get the current treasurer's, Kurt Summers' Catalyst program off the ground. This was a program that was pushed by the Service Employees International Union. They're like, hey Kurt, you got to invest 5% of your portfolio in housing and getting small businesses and cooperatives off the ground. That didn't happen for reasons related to Burke and Rahm. And I think at the very least, while we're trying to get a public bank online, we need to expand the Catalyst program, and we need to put cooperatives at the front of the line. Thank you.
Would you commit to yearly testing of La Villita Park for leaching contamination?
Yes, I would commit to yearly testing of air quality, contamination of La Villita Park, McKinley Park, Point Park, Douglas Park. We have to think about all of the different contaminants that our families are exposed to, not just because of the local manufacturing, but because of the diesel and any other contaminant that we see in the air.
Yes.
If I can just have a moment to follow up on that, of course La Villita Park came out of a community push to create open space in a community with a high number of young people and not a lot of open space. And I don't know if everyone in the room knows this, but there was industrial contamination that was beneath that park, and people chose to not have that shipped out somewhere else. right? A community that had experienced so much pollution, so many toxins put on them, couldn't imagine shipping it out and making it someone else's problem. So beneath that incredible park are those contaminants, but they're capped and sealed. So just to maybe rephrase the question, so here we have an incredible open space created by community engagement, but we're asking, at the level of being aldermen, what do you see doing to make sure that that stays safe and people, have a very healthy time there and non-exposure?
Yeah, again, I think that given what was already done, we need to make sure that it is safe, and so we need to commit to make sure that we do every test that we can possible to ensure that it's safe. I go there with my kids. I live a block away from the park. So I want to make sure that that is safe, but again, I just don't want to make it just to that park. When we look at what's happening here in McKinley Park and the air quality here and the other parks because of the traffic and the other contaminants, one of the things that I just want to let people know is that the reason why these things are not tested is because they cost money. And the reason why the alderman do not want to use his menu funds or other city funds is because he doesn't think he's politically going to get out of it, because and then it's going to make him look bad, right? So I'm more interested in the safety and the health of our constituents versus how I will look, and that's what I commit to doing every single day that I'm in office.
When it comes to issues like testing of parks, where obviously I'm not an expert, I do have some experience working for nonprofits that are dedicated to environmental issues. But I want to be deferential to the people who are doing the work. People like Alvejo, which has their community farm, maybe a block away. I too take my kids to the park, but I want to follow Alvejo's lead on how we can do better. This is a relatively new issue for me. I agree that we need to spend more menu money in Little Village just as a whole. In the Alderman Cardenas regime, I think we see that aldermanic menu money gets spent where the votes are, right? That's why you see some years $1 million or $900,000 in menu money at $1.3 million gets spent in McKinley Park. I live in McKinley Park. I'd like to see money get spent here, right? But what's fair is fair. If there's an equal number of residents living in Brighton Park and Little Village, we have to divide that menu money into threes, and we need participatory budgeting so that the residents in all three areas of the ward can decide how that money is spent. What's fair is fair. I'm for participatory budgeting, and I'll follow Alvejo's lead on how we deal with levy at the park.